Mob of the Dead is a map that has gone down in history as one of the best zombie maps ever made. But in today's video, I want to talk about the one feature that I believe saved it from the exact opposite fate. I believe, if not for this single feature, Mob of the Dead would have gone down in history as one of the worst maps ever made. And this one feature is none other than the Vitriolic Withering. And I don't think there's a better place to start than the layout of the map itself. Mob of the Dead is a big map, but it's also a map that is extremely close and tight. Whether it's the cell block or the infirmary, the closeness invokes a feeling of danger no matter where you are in the map at all times. Now the gameplay invoking this sense of fear and danger in the player is huge. It corresponds brilliantly with the theme and the setting of the map, which is so based around fear. Now Mob of the Dead is very clearly designed to be a spooky and scary map visually. Thematically it's very much about repent, but through visuals it is very clearly designed to invoke this feeling of uneasiness and danger in the player. And the Vitriolic Withering single-handedly creates a counterbalance to this feeling, both in actual gameplay, being it's able to distract zombies and literally remove the danger, but also remove the danger from the player's mind. It helps to make the player feel safe and in control in an environment when they're very clearly not. Now Brutus is the next biggest part of the map's gameplay in my opinion. He's very clearly what inspired the trend of every 5 rounds or so having a singular big zombie boss disrupt the floor of the map, and Brutus does this in an extremely unique way. Brutus is less about simply running at the player. He certainly does that, but that is what the player wants. If the player can keep Brutus under control, and keep Brutus where the player wants him to be, then Brutus becomes almost a non-factor. He is an extreme glass cannon, being killed in only 3 to 4 shots of both ray guns, and is still very susceptible to more normal weapons, and even wall buys located around the map. Brutus becomes effective when the player does not have direct control of where he is. Unlike the Panzer or the Thrasher, who will still cause problems for the player when they are in the player's train, Brutus thrives on not being in the train. This is when Brutus interacts with various parts of the map, this being when he turns off traps or perks, or when he slams down on the box or the riot shield. This is something that the Vitriolic Withering helps with immensely, as it is purely designed to keep the player in control of the situation at hand, and therefore keep control of Brutus, and where he is located on the map. It's easy to see how removing the Vitriolic Withering from these scenarios affects the map. Mob of the Dead immediately becomes closer to something like 5 or Shang, without PhD of course, which are maps that are historically hated by the zombies community. Removing the Vitriolic Withering from any encounters with Brutus makes him significantly harder to keep under control, in any space that is in either Golden Gate Bridge or potentially the cafeteria. And removing the Vitriolic Withering from the map also makes any part of the map that aren't these areas an immediate death sentence. You absolutely have to gun through these areas, as one zombie spawning in front of you and blocking your way has an extreme chance of causing your death, especially in areas like the cell block rafters and the infirmary. And once you do go down, another problem is revealed. Getting to Jug once you have downed is almost entirely based around using the Vitriolic Withering. Running down the stairs will cause zombies to spawn in front of you, no matter how fast you are, and using the gondola doesn't work either due to the charge up times. Almost immediately, the 3 afterlife uses that are available to the player to try and help out the balance of the difficulty of the map become almost meaningless, as you will absolutely go through all of them on your way to get Jug. Almost immediately, the 3 afterlife uses that are available to the player to try to help out balance the map and its difficulty become almost absolutely meaningless, as you absolutely will go through all of them on your way to and from Jug. Getting Jug once you have downed is already currently an extreme annoyance in the map. Removing the Vitriolic Withering from the equation is absolutely detrimental to the map. Now that we've had a look at how removing the Vitriolic Withering affects the map, I want to really quickly talk about the problems that already exist in the map, primarily the tedious setup. Now don't get me wrong, I like the setup on mod, but it is undeniably something that gets very repetitive and boring very quick. A tedious setup is something that a portion of the community already hates, specifically the casuals and older zombies players. Releasing a map with a big setup is something that nowadays is very standard, and most of the community would be used to and enjoy, but you have to remember, Mob of the Dead was the first map to introduce the Blundell style of huge map setups. Mixing the introduction of a long and tedious setup, as well as having the map suffer so much from not having the Vitriolic Withering, would have potentially killed Mob of the Dead at launch, which would have had dire consequences for the entire zombies community. This would have meant that Trail could be 0-4, with Moon, Transit, Dire Eyes, and potentially Mob of the Dead all received poorly. This would have not only meant that Buried would be the map that had to save the Zombies community back then, but I also can't help but wonder if Blundell would have gotten cold feet due to the poor reception of the map, and pull back the reins on Origins a little bit, potentially changing the evolution of Zombies forever by lessening the long style setup Blundell formula that we got throughout all of Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4. Now I know what all of you are thinking. There wouldn't simply just be no Wonder Weapon. There would be a replacement for the Vitriolic Withering, and you are absolutely correct. The problem with this, though, is if they got the Wonder Weapon wrong. Designing Wonder Weapons are hard to do, especially for a map like Mob of the Dead that relies on the weapon so much. If the replacement Wonder Weapon is a dud, the entire map flops as a result. The only Wonder Weapon in existence right now that could potentially work on Mob of the Dead is the Baby Gun, this being due to its ability to make all the zombies one-shot and its ammo capacity. Yes, something like the Thunder Gun is better as a safety weapon, but it lacks ammo. Mob of the Dead relies on the safety weapon so much that the Thunder Gun would run out of ammo almost instantly. And weapons that could camp, like the Lightning Bow and Ice Staff, would not be a long-term strategy, as they would eventually run out of ammo due to the high amount of shots they need to pump out to keep the camping successful. But also, Gumballs like Alchemical didn't exist yet, which these weapons heavily rely on. Even the Paralyzer eventually drops off, at which point it just stops killing, and the players would have to simply resort to the Acid Trap again. Also, all of these Wonder Weapons would immediately fail, as trying to rely on charge-up Wonder Weapons on a tight map like Mob of the Dead is a disaster just waiting to happen, and travelling throughout the map at all would be literally impossible. And like discussed before, having the player literally not able to leave a specific area, or they immediately die, is a surefire way to have Mob of the Dead fail as a map. And without the Vitriolic Withering, there is absolutely nothing in the map to prevent this from becoming a reality. Anyway guys, this was just some thoughts that I had about Mob of the Dead and the Vitriolic Withering, and how they work in tandem together to make Mob of the Dead one of the best maps in Zombies. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you agreed or disagreed, feel free to let me know. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.